Good morning, and welcome to another episode of Josh and Pat. I'm Joshua Klein, joined by Patrick Cassett, and this episode is brought to you by our Patreon. You can do whatever with that information. Yesterday was a tough day. It was a tough day for not only America, but the people in America. And especially for the people who were from or live in the surrounding areas of Baltimore and Detroit. And now, because of the failure of 106 players and several coaches, we might have the worst Super Bowl matchup in the history of the Super Bowl. And as a Ravens fan, I just want to say this has been a tough day. I was at the game. I did everything that I could. And at the end of the day, I did my part, but maybe it wasn't enough. And now I'm not sure where we go from here. I'm not sure if I'll ever believe in anything again. I'm not sure. Because every year there's been excuses. Not this year. There's no excuse this year. This year was it. Patrick, how are you feeling after that Ravens loss? How are you feeling with the Super Bowl matchup that we all have to watch now? The script might have said it, but I can't imagine the script said it because nobody wants it. How are you feeling? Share your emotions. This is a safe space.
When your favorite team loses in the playoffs, it feels like you just gotten... When your favorite team loses in the playoffs, it feels like you just got broken up with your girlfriend. And the problem is it comes unexpectedly, right? Because you're going into it and you're expecting the best. And then, boom, you're blindsided. And then you're left with, what do you do after? Like, what am I supposed to do now, right? Like, I was supposed to spend the next 2 weeks looking at Ravens highlights,
Right.
You know, looking up over the practice report, watching press conferences. And now that's taken from me because I don't want any part of football, right? I don't want it. So, and the sad part is I'm going to come crawling back in September. But until then, where do I pick up the pieces at?
Right. And not only did she break up with you, she broke up with you right before your anniversary, right before Valentine's Day, right before you guys were supposed to potentially be getting engaged. You know, and those things hurt. And I just don't know. I was saying it yesterday. Every year there was excuses, right? So even in 2019, you could have said Lamar was young. It was his, second
He'll learn from it,
full
right?
year. He's going to learn from this experience. And then the following years, he hasn't really been healthy the whole year. You know, our defense hasn't looked like the defense that we've had in the past, or maybe it's Lamar doesn't have enough offensive weapons. Those were all excuses, and I bought into those excuses, and I said, hey, when we fix those, when we get those right, just wait for what's going to happen. We fixed those. This team was good. Yes, you could say our offensive line play yesterday was atrocious, and
I think it was pretty solid.
For a while.
I think it was pretty solid watching on TV. I don't know how it was in the stadium, but
in the stadium, it looked like Chiefs had no time.
Chiefs were blitzing. I mean, so if you want to fault anybody, you got to fault the running backs. They're not picking up protection. I mean, so there's different There's different stuff.
Do that. Maybe you could fault the play calling. I don't know. I heard a lot of people say that it wasn't great. I don't know where I could put the blame other than we just didn't play good. We got beat, and that's going to be really tough when I have to try to come buy into it again next year and say, what's the difference this next year? What's going to be the difference next year?
And that's why when we've had conversations on the show and you've said, Patrick, it's a big deal that we lost a regular season game. It's a big deal. And I go, no, it matters how. And it's because this team, the Ravens, over the last, 6, 7 years, whatever it is, has proven that it doesn't matter how good they are in the regular season. When they get to the playoffs, they're a different team, whether you like it or not. So that's why it's hard for me to get excited in the regular season. But you know what I did? When they went on the run towards the end of the season, I was like, screw it. I'm all the way bought back into this team.
Right.
Just for the same thing to happen again. but I don't know what you do to fix it, right? Because there is no obvious answer. It's like, what do you fix here? It just doesn't make any sense. I don't understand.
I don't know where you fix. And it's tough. I liked what Lamar was saying after the game. The tweet he put out was,
I love it.
I appreciate he's standing strong. He's trying to be a leader through this time. Some people will say it's lip service. I think it's sincere because I know how locked in he's been. And so it's tough. And now you're going to go watch. And by the way, I've never had more hatred to a team than I do this Chiefs team potentially. Because not only did you see the videos coming out pregame? And I didn't see these in this. I was in the stadium. I wasn't seeing everything that was happening. Patrick Mahomes just throwing Justin Tucker's kicking stand was potentially one of the worst, most scumbag moves I've ever seen. And there's that. Travis Kelce just talking and zero class, zero respect for anything. That was really frustrating to see. And then I just, at the end of the game, having to watch that PDA on the field and get. By the way, it's shoved down my throat. I didn't see. I'm sure a lot of people had significant others on that field yesterday. I didn't see a single one of them.
Look, in all fairness, they were showing Taylor in the booth yesterday on TV, and you could read her lips. She was like, "Get me off the screen." She literally was like, "I don't want to be here."
How'd she know she was on the screen?
Because they have a TV in the suite.
Oh.
She was like, "Get me off the screen." Like she does that. So I it's like, what is she supposed to do in that point? You know what I mean?
Fair, but I'm over it. I'm sick of it.
But yeah, the part that just pisses me off, Josh, is that Mahomes and Kelce do that in the pregame, and then they come out and they put 14 up right off the bat. And they backed up their talk, and it's stressed out.
They put up 17 points in the whole game.
I know, I understand that, but they controlled the narrative early, right? So like they came out and it put the Ravens on their heels, right? They did what they wanted to do. Okay. I look at it, Josh, and it's as much as I want to have a glass half full scenario coming in, because honestly, it's been a really fun season to watch. It has.
They're good moments.
But at the same time, I want to be like, you know what? It's unfortunate. They picked a bad day to have a bad game. And I keep telling myself, 2011 AFC Championship game, we'll be back next year. And you hear Lamar talk about it, walk out with your head held high. And then there's a part of me that just goes, it's the same old Ravens. Like what happened to the edge of the teams from like the mid 2000s, right? Where they come in and it was like, man, we don't want to play the Ravens. Well, now it's everybody's saying, sign me up for the Ravens. I don't care if we have to go into Baltimore or not. And it's just, man, it's frustrating. And people are going to sit here this morning. I think it's a really easy way to cop out and say, oh, they only ran the ball, 12 times, only gave it to the running backs.
Right. You couldn't really give the ball to the running backs that much there. You couldn't give them the ball at all in the fourth quarter. You couldn't really give them the ball that much in the second half. You're playing from behind. And
I understand it, Josh, but at the same time, I saw some people bring up some really good points. Chiefs were blitzing at a fairly high percentage. What are you going to do? Run a running back right into the blitz? In the second half, in all fairness, right? I'm not saying that Todd Monken had a great game. I'm not saying Lamar had a great game, but they started figuring out some stuff to be able to at least move the ball, because in the first half, they couldn't move the ball, but in the second half, they did.
We got to the red zone multiple times.
Yeah.
And one of the times we fumbled, one of the times we had an interception. And whether you want to say that interception should have been called back because of refereeing, which, by the way, you could make that argument. It was Lamar still shouldn't be making that throw in regardless. Right. But the refereeing was, it's tough when everything's working against you. When that's like in a game where two teams are equally really good. This is the NFL. Both teams are going to have players who make plays on either side. Sometimes it only takes a little bit for one team to get the edge. and and when you have the refs also working against you, which Baltimore clearly did on a couple clear no calls, and even a couple of the calls that you go, I should that have been a call. I mean, maybe you can tell me that Mahomes getting slapped in the face is definitely should be, should be a call. It wasn't like it was incidental. It was like he wasn't.
Yeah,
like
but I mean,
punched.
they call it every time. That's not the flag I get mad at. I mean, there's just different stuff where there's a couple taunting personal foul stuff that you look at, and Zay, they're gonna call it every time. You stand over the guy, you spin the ball, you de-smith him. I mean, they're gonna call that. But stuff on the Kyle Van Noy, he comes up. I mean, there's different stuff where you go back and you watch. I mean, you got Chiefs players literally like you punching guys on the ground, no call, they don't even break it up. And as much as I want to get upset about the flags, Ravens shot themselves in the foot. And so,
yeah, and you're 100% right. I mean, like, Zay Flowers, he's going to learn a lot from this game. He's going to, hopefully, he's going to be forced to get better. He made some crucial mistakes that, I mean, ended up really, you could say cost the game. I think it was a team effort that cost the game. I don't think you could put these two things right on it, but we were able to mark. I mean, we were able to move the ball. We were able to get down to the end, like to the red zone. So I think it's just tough. And, the Terps had a big win on Saturday, and that teams that you like can't have back-to-back big wins on the same weekend. And that's just how it goes.
What were the vibes in the stadium like? I mean, because they brought the noise.
Dude, that's the thing. We brought significantly more noise than we did at the Texans game. But the Chiefs were buttoned up. That's the difference, I think, between a team that's been here before, a team that's, really good, well coached, good at the details. I mean, we couldn't get them to jump for anything. They were operating business as usual, and we brought everything. I mean, I've never been louder in a stadium. I was out there, and it was demoralizing. I'm not going to lie, Patrick, because those long drives that they were sustaining there at the beginning, like I gave it everything. I would give it everything. Third down, I give it everything. Then they first down, and then I felt like the third down, like chant was. We came up so much by the end of the drive. I'm like, I don't know why I'm getting out of my chair right now, because it was demoralizing. But then the defense really started showing up in the second half, and like props to Roquan. He got the boys going, and they were on the field a lot yesterday. And at really the second half, I mean, the Chiefs didn't score a point. They were able to do their thing. And so, I felt like it was electric. Even at the end there was just people were holding on to that little bit of hope. And because we had a chance. Lamar doesn't throw the interception. We potentially, overtime was a real possibility.
And you get into overtime, the way the defense was playing, you're like, hey, we got a shot.
Well, even up to that, it was third down. We just, we make a stop. We get the ball back, and we potentially have a chance to drive. Under 2 minutes left. Lamar do his thing. We send this to OT. Now, I'm sure Harbaugh would have gone for 2, try to win it there. We wouldn't have lost it.
He wouldn't.
I don't know. I'm not going to think about that. I'm going to give him, because I'm not going to be that Debbie Downer. But then massive pass to, I didn't even know who it was, because as soon as I saw the ball in the air,
MVS.
I was up out of my seat. I was walking. I was. And props to Chiefs fans. They knew not to instigate. They were the most quiet fan base on the way out. I think that they recognized where they were. Not that many Chiefs fans.
Hey, kudos to them. They, it's not their fault their teams hate it.
Well,
they've been loyal. I would argue, I've never been like, have you ever heard of, I don't like the Chiefs because of their fans? No.
Fair. Well, there was one of their fans was dressing up as a wolf in Robin Banks.
Yeah, you know how awesome that is, Josh. He was on the run from the cops for like a couple weeks,
and he was using that money to buy tickets to the Chiefs.
Yeah, so he was giving back, right?
So maybe there's that. Yeah, but it's tough loss overall. And I think with all the legends at the game, too, you can't do it with all the legends there. Because who are we going to bring out next time around? Who are we going to bring out?
There's Joe Flacco, maybe?
There's no one else to bring. Maybe Joe Flacco. But
Joe's the only one.
they were all there. Everyone. Like, I don't know who else. Like, in the past 2 games, I have seen Mello, Jonathan Ogden, Michael Phelps. I saw Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, T. Sizzle. I mean, the list probably could keep going. But you know what?
The thing-
T-Pain halftime performance, here's what I'll say. I was sickened by it.
Why?
This dude comes out on the stage in a red and yellow jacket.
I have a feeling he wasn't rooting for the Chiefs, though.
Red and yellow jacket.
Yeah, he needs to have a little bit better awareness on that.
I was like looking at it. I was like, I'm out. And he played a Journey song. Like, I don't know. Like it ultimately people said performance, pretty mid.
Really?
But
I don't know. And here's the thing I want Ravens fans to remember today, right?
right.
Is that everyone that has made fun of the Ravens in the past 24 hours,
Right.
their team didn't get to a conference championship.
Right.
And they're going to do the whole welcome to the couch like the rest of us.
Right.
That is the biggest loser talk I've ever heard. No one wants to be on the couch, period, let alone weeks before this.
Right. Right. That's in 100%.
Perspective.
Now, I have so obviously it's going to be the 49ers versus Chiefs Super Bowl. I mean, it couldn't be worse for me. I don't even know who I root for in that sense.
I think I might responsibly put a decent amount of money on the 49ers.
I don't know. I just don't know who I root for there because I don't want Brock Purdy to get a ring and I don't want Patrick Mahomes to get a ring. But to every fan out there, there's a chance that we might not actually have to see one of those 2 teams win the Super Bowl.
And how's that work?
Okay, so I did digging into the rules.
Mm-hmm.
Now, both teams will be in the event that the game is tied, the game goes to overtime. Now,
Right.
we all know the way overtime works now. They flip a coin. One team who wins the coin toss gets to elect to either go with the ball or, defend. Most teams pick to go and take the ball because if you score a touchdown, game's over. But if you score
Not in the playoffs.
what? Oh, you get a chance to rebuttal. Whatever.
Yeah, it's
you
just
score
not
a
how that works.
touchdown, the other team gets a chance to go and score a touchdown too. But say the game is still tied at the end of this. Well, the next time around, if you kick a field goal or score at all, game's over.
Right.
But if you don't score, then the other team gets the ball. And if they don't score, then the other team gets the ball. Until then, you could go to a second overtime period, and etc.
Right.
But if nobody scores, the game will have to indefinitely go until they find a winner. However, if that said game goes until the kickoff time of the following season, then the game has to stop
Why does it have to stop?
because the next season needs to start.
Well, no, but nobody said you could just delay it. I mean, look at COVID. They just made up their own rules. I mean, you just start playing like 2 games a week. You got Wednesday night football.
Okay, so wait a second. So okay, but I feel like eventually they would call it, right, and just say tie.
Yeah, and it feels like they wouldn't do that. But if they
Like if
did
it's
ever
5
get to the
o'clock
point,
in the morning on the day after the Super Bowl, and they're still playing this game, Pat, I think that they call the game.
I would love a moment where if like both like head coaches went out, had a chat on the logo, and was like, were co-champions.
Yeah.
Like that would be,
And then everyone could say, actually, neither of them were champions.
yeah. And then it's just a huge asterisk.
Right.
It's like, well, you didn't really win
To
it.
me,
Yeah.
that's what I want.
Yeah. It feels like a long shot.
But never say never, Pat. Come on.
Yeah, I won't.
That's
I
all
won't
I
say
had to
never.
believe in. That's all I had to hope in, Patrick.
And here's the thing: is as much as it sucks to be a Ravens fan this morning, I think it probably sucks to be a Detroit Lions fan a little bit worse,
Right.
Because at halftime, you could taste the Super Bowl,
Right.
like they could taste it.
Yeah, Gardner Johnson actually waved the fans goodbye.
What a bold move, man!
Right. Maybe he was actually, in hindsight, he was waving goodbye to himself.
He was waving goodbye. He was saying, "We're out.
See,
Like
guys,
we're done."
We're
Yeah,
leaving.
yeah. Maybe it wasn't a cocky wave.
You've seen what you're going to see from us today.
And it's like, remember this, because what happens later,
Right.
we're not going to talk about.
But I also think there's a side of it, and we'd have to talk to a Detroit Lions fan. I think there's a side that's they're just happy to have been there. Like, I
Yeah,
still think you could spin zone this. Like, a week from now, you could say, moral victory. Can't believe we even made it that far. We have a team going forward. If you're a Ravens fan, you're like, you pretty much have a pretty good team every year. Every year,
Yeah.
like every year, the Ravens is one of the few franchises. Not every franchise is like this, but there are several franchises that every year have the potential to win a Super Bowl. You know, there's just some teams
number
that
one,
just
number one.
won't.
You count on making the playoffs. Like if you don't make the playoffs, it is an extremely down year.
Right. You count on making the playoffs, and it's like every year you potentially, even if you have a bad team, it's like we have the chance. Because you also remember, like, well, that 2012 Ravens team that won a Super Bowl, they weren't like
They weren't good. That
super-
defense
yeah.
sucked.
They weren't like all that buttoned up
By
for
the
the
way,
last couple games of the year, but they went on a run. Like anything can happen. Like we can do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just if you're a Ravens fan, you got to expect. I'm expecting Mike Max gone. If he comes back, that's awesome.
Yeah,
right.
That's the worst part about it. Is like the best part about this year is going to be gone.
And man, I just keep thinking, like, what if we had Keaton Mitchell? Like, I genuinely think that game's different if Keaton Mitchell's healthy.
I mean, I know. I don't want to play the what if game because I think we had the pieces to do it. And we just didn't do it. And it sucks. But that's the show because life goes on.
Yeah.
Life goes on. We're going to be back maybe. And I'll tell you what. I got a lot of things to get excited about though because one, pitchers and catchers reporting soon.
I hate that. I hate that so much. That's not what I want to hear. Okay. I just lost a game. Oh, pitchers and catchers report in 18 days. Oh, no. Number one. Okay. Who cares? This actual season doesn't start until like March 28th. Okay. Number two. You have to wait until October
I understand
for there to be
Patrick.
like. Yeah.
I understand. I'm not happy about it, okay? Also, Daytona 500 coming up.
Well, it is NASCAR season, and that's what I did last night. I went on an all-time rampage on YouTube. I said, you know what? We're watching NASCAR highlights.
Right,
and we got the Clash this weekend. We're back.
And I'm pumped.
And-
I got my new NASCAR jacket. I'm gonna be wearing it every day. I'm like, I'm gonna be hopping back on the sim. We're gonna make this season one to remember, and it's gonna be distracting. Also, have the big firefighter ball coming up next week, next Saturday.
That is true.
And so that's going to keep me distracted as well. Now, to my knowledge, won't have a +1. But
Yeah.
we tried. Hey, I even saw we were at a random we were at a tailgate yesterday. And my dad was talking to his buddy's daughter who goes to Salisbury. And I heard him go, well, you know, Josh needs a date to the firefighter ball.
I mean, that's
And
good.
she was like,
I mean,
oh, well,
that's-
like my one friend's single. And I was just sitting there. I was like, I was just
You're like,
pretending not to
man.
hear it. I was just like eating food, talking over here. I was like,
but you're just, oh man, that's unfortunate.
but I think maybe because she has a boyfriend. She's got a boyfriend, I'm sure. She can't go.
Yeah, no, she couldn't do that to the boyfriend.
Couldn't do that to the boyfriend. It was just. I mean, it was very.
I'll tell you what, it would be an all-time like wow moment if for a friend that was single was like someone you knew that went to Salisbury.
That'd be pretty actually insane.
Yeah, that'd be wild.
That's true. What are the chances of that? We gotta.
Yeah, we'll never know.
That contact seems. I mean that. I don't know. I don't know if Dave Klein got the friend's number.
Maybe you can get, at the very least, maybe like LinkedIn message or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe. Right. Because I'm a good networking opportunity.
By the way, apparently RG3 was like live tweeting the Ravens game on LinkedIn yesterday.
On what?
On LinkedIn. He was live tweeting on LinkedIn.
That's an interesting move. But you know what? Because technically that is his profession. So
that is his work. That is work related. So he was just letting people know. You're right.
He's just trying to get those connections up. Maybe he thinks that's where NFL coaches are.
Well, that's probably what he but you got to remember the NFL coaches told him, RG, like you would have a job, but we don't want the backup to have a bigger name associated than the starter.
Right. So, oh man. Yeah. Anyway, guys, you have a wonderful day. Sorry to all of the morning Americans and fans who are watching this. We'll get through this. Anyway, you have a wonderful day. Peace.